good? I reckon you could hear me loud and clear. It is tremendous Thursday. The coffee has been had. So it's not a coffee chat. It's a water chat. Whatever you are consuming this morning, I hope you are wonderful. My family is out there ready to, I think, hop in the car and head out somewhere. They're going for a walk. They're in beanies. One child is in a beanie. Can you imagine that? It must be getting cold. Now, massive thank you. This is humming along beautifully. Pre-sales for the book. Thank you. Really appreciate all of these orders coming through. A number of you buying two. One for you, one for a friend. That is very kind of you. I did just say to Sarah this morning, it's really nice to wake up in the morning and see that people overnight have bought books. So I don't know if that's people staying up late or people in other time zones, but really grateful for your support. Now, a big foundation of my life's work, and really the first section in this book. So the book, Your Exceptional Life, is broken up into 8 sections. Again, because to live an exceptional life, it requires an exceptional life purpose or career, movement, social life, nutrition, family, growth, wealth, and spirit, soul, or faith. If you suck at just one of them, the consequences are dire. And the foundation of your exceptional life is your work, is your career, whether that is as a stay-at-home mum, as my beautiful wife is. Before that, she was a chiropractor. You might be a journalist. You might be a gardener. You might be a teacher. You might be an accountant, a lawyer. You might be teaching people how to drive cars. Whatever you are, understanding that loving what you do and doing what you love is still feels like a luxury item to a lot of people, put it that way. And it's not easy to discuss. It's not easy to own your life purpose. There's a great line by Marianne Williamson around, essentially we are scared. I've got it in here somewhere. We are scared of how powerful and how incredible we really are. And I won't go into that today. What I do want to go into is the 5 steps to live your life's work. This was difficult to write because it's such a big topic, and I'm not going to get it all done in one edition of Your Exceptional Day, one Facebook Live. It's not how it is. But I really want to give you, it can be done for every single human being. I do have a knack when I'm with people in the flesh of helping people discover what they would be wise to commit their life's work to. But what I find is that knowing it and doing it are 2 completely different things. So you may already know what your exceptional life purpose is, but you still may be in the fear phase, and I think it's a phase that everyone goes through. You still may be in the fear phase of actually doing it. And for some people, that phase lasts for years, and sadly for many people, it's a phase that they never progress from. So I think all of us deep down or high up know exactly what our life is committed to, but we are very scared to kind of out it. So there are 5 steps. Step number 1 is to identify what I call the seeds of your life's work. And when I say identify the seeds, there are 8 seeds and likely more that you want to really reflect on. So step 1 of kind of identifying your life purpose is to go back to the past and to look at the history of your life. And there are many experiences that we've had. Some of them are bigger for us than others. So seed number 1 is resistance. Now, resistance, as an example, can come in the form of parents, friends, teachers, employees, and so on. I share the story of Paulo Coelho, author of The Alchemist, what Oprah Winfrey called the book of the century. His parents thought he was crazy. They put him in a psychiatric hospital. He escaped every time. I think they did it 3 times. There was great resistance from Paulo Coelho's family because they wanted him to have a steady job. I think they wanted him to be an engineer. So seed number 1 is resistance. And these are not wrong or bad. They're actually there as gifts to help you uncover your exceptional life purpose. Seed number 2 is you were born or married into it. So it could be, my dentist is a 5th generation dentist. You might be a 3rd generation teacher or motor mechanic or a farmer or a lawyer. Often what you are born into is the gift of your life purpose. It's a wonderful thing that you are born into it. Some people, it's a real challenge for them, particularly if it's not. their life's purpose, like John Robbins, who was the heir to the throne of Baskin-Robbins Ice Cream Corporation. He ostracized himself from the family because ice cream was not what he wanted to do. It was what his dad wanted to do. But having that clarity is massive. It's really important to understand it. So seed number one, resistance. Sorry, we got some comments here. Hi, Summer. Hi, Debbie. Hey, Helen. Do you have an official release date when the books will be posted? Great question, Summer. I get really nervous about this, but the printer, Summer, tells me that the books will land on my driveway on Friday, May 14. Now, I get really nervous about that because living in the Byron Shire, the post doesn't always arrive when people say it will. I tell my friends and family, particularly if they're sending birthday presents for the kids, don't put it in express post. It's not going to get here in one business day. So, yes. So there you go, Summer. Does that answer your question? Friday, May 14. So I would expect, hopefully, to be popping them in envelopes over the weekend with the kids and then popping them in the post on Monday. But again, I'm not holding my breath. Given that I got that date from the printer, I am going to have a little family and friends book launch here. And I'm not going to have it on Saturday, May 15 when I thought I would. I'm going to have it the week after. So that kind of gives you an idea of what I think about postage where I live. Seed number 3. So I've done resistance. You're born or married into it. Seed number 3, exposure to the opposite. So many of us grew up in households where we were exposed to the opposite example of how we would like to live. In the book, I use the example of my grandfather. He was an alcoholic. My dad despised him for it. He did not respect his dad at all. My dad's dad died and my dad was happy. My dad said, good. My dad actually found my grandfather dead in his bed. But that was a gift to my dad on how not to live. And so often we go into a victim story of our upbringing or certain careers or certain people that we fell in love with, but really they are there to teach us what we don't want in life. And that can be a very powerful seed for what you dedicate your life and your career to. Now, as you can tell, I'm skimming through these because I just want to plant these seeds for any of you that are going, oh, here we go. What do I actually do? I want you to reflect, first of all. Seed number 4, your parents didn't quite make it, or for any number of reasons, they gave up on their own dreams. I use an example in the book of Normie Rowe. Normie Rowe was Australia's first king of pop. When we interviewed Normie on 100 Not Out, he shared with us, direct quote, as a little kid, my mum was always singing. She came from a family of 11 or 12 kids. She always went to the May Downs dancing school, which still exists today. It's in Melbourne. I think had it not been for the end of the First World War and into the Depression and the Second World War, mum or some of her sisters may have ended up being dancers or singers of some sort. So there you go. Like Normie Rowe's mum or aunties, if it weren't for the wars, may have been professional singers. Now, they raised their son Normie in a culture of music, and that spawned the seed of Normie Rowe's life purpose, which is entertainment. He's a wonderful man and a great entertainer. So you can't deny that sometimes if your parents don't make it, it opens the path for you to make it. Really important. Seed number 5, family desire for fame, wealth, or success. This one can often feel quite unsavory. The example I used in the book was Andre Agassi. He hated tennis, Andre Agassi. His dad forced him into that career. And there are many, many examples of that. Mozart's dad was similar. Mozart actually loved music, but he loved composing even more, which his dad hated. There's a number of examples of this. Again, it can sometimes feel somewhat unsavory. Seed number 6, a magnificent obsession. This is definitely me. I have an obsessive personality by nature. I use examples in here of Alice Hertz Sommer, who was the oldest female survivor of the Holocaust. She was magnificently obsessed with music, and in following her magnificent obsession, when she was taken to Theresienstadt, the Nazis saw that she had a magnificent obsession for music, and they used her as part of the propaganda campaign. She played all of Chopin's etudes at Theresienstadt for concerts to show the world how amazing it was living at Theresienstadt. We all know how much of a crock that was. But if it wasn't for Alice Hertz Sommer's magnificent obsession and her commitment to it, she would not have survived. Same thing went for the oldest male survivor of the Holocaust, Yisrael Kristol. He was a master confectioner. That's right. He made lollies and chocolates and toffees. And as I said in the book, for even the Nazis had a sweet tooth. So there was a very big reason why he was kept alive during the Holocaust. Seed number 7, a higher calling. This can be, it's not in the script. You don't plan for it. Mother Teresa talks about her call within the call when she felt called to help impoverished people around the world. That started in Calcutta. Domestic violence campaigner Rosemary Batty's calling came after her 11-year-old son Luke was murdered by his father. I mean, these are things that you don't put in the script of your life. Not as common as other ones, but definitely powerful. And seed 8, which for me is sometimes the most powerful one. It's where a lot of our great respect and admiration for many human beings come from, is a tragedy or a crisis. And I probably will speak to this mostly in this live. I really would be wise to do a whole live on this. There are many crises that we experience in our life. Good morning, Jesse. Hope you're well. There are many crises that we experience in our lives, which we see purely as crises and not as a seed of opportunity. It could be a family crisis, a health crisis, a financial or business crisis, a social or community crisis, a cultural crisis, a political crisis, a religious crisis, an environmental crisis. I mean, we are overwhelmed by crises, but at the same time, we are overwhelmed by purpose in our lives because of it, or opportunities for purpose. So, I give you some examples. I think death, as hard as it is to say this, it is one of the great seeds of purpose in people's lives. In the book, I share the story of Dr. Sanduk Ruit, who is now known as the God of Sight. I'm here to tell you he would not be known as the God of Sight if it weren't for the death of his sister Yangla. He shares this story with me on 100 Not Out. Cut a long story short, Dr. Fred Hollows, Dr. Sanduk Ruit was a mentee of Fred Hollows. Fred Hollows, in other words, was a mentor to Dr. Sanduk Ruit. When Yangla died, Sanduk Ruit knew he would become a doctor. No one in his village had ever become a doctor. I don't think anyone in his village had ever been to university. And the mysterious ways the world works, he got into university in India on a very rare scholarship, or a scholarship that's very difficult to get into. He has since gone on to restore sight personally with his own arms to over 130,000 people in developing nations. And ophthalmologists from all over the world fly to Nepal, one of the poorest countries in the world, to learn from Dr. Sanduk Ruit. He views these crises in his life as blessings. He says, I consider these crises as landmarks in my life. Once in a while, I go for a short trek up in the mountains. When you reach the top of the hill, you have all the time to yourself. You have emptied yourself and you are so fresh to think about some things. I reflect back and I often think about these landmarks and I say that if these things had not happened, if I had not had such a tough childhood, and if my father did not have a vision to send me to school, and if I was a normal kid in school and never learned how to struggle in life, if I did not lose my sister who was so close to me, would I be doing what I'm doing now? I think these are poignant questions to ask yourself. If Malala Yousafzai was not shot in the head on the bus on the way to school, would we be so inspired by what she's doing now? If Churia Pitt wasn't burnt 65% of her body during the ill-fated fires in the Kimberley region of Australia in 2011, would we know her as Churia Pitt today? Eddie JQ's life purpose was sowed in the seed of the Holocaust, a political, cultural, social, family, physical, financial, and religious crises all at the same time. And today he teaches and inspires humanity to cleanse themselves of hate. I finished off this section by saying life can be so brutal, and it can. You may have had a really brutal life. You may have had major disaster and trauma and challenge in your life. But what I'm here to tell you is that the more challenge you've had, the more power you have access to. That is a direct paraphrase from Dr. John Demartini. But there is no doubt that the people that have had the most challenge in life are the strongest. I am pretty soft. I have not had major trauma in my life. Touch wood, because I'm not really looking forward to having it. And these are the things that, as uncomfortable as it is for me to say, we cannot schedule into my life. That is why again, as cliche as it sounds, we have to treat each day as if we're going to get hit by a bus before the day is out. You've got to say thank you to people. You've got to be grateful to your loved ones. It's so important to be kind and cheerful and honest and courageous when it calls for you, when the hunch is there to follow it, not to live in comfort and mediocrity, because you don't want the 5 regrets of the dying if we get hit by the bus at the end of the day. I know it's morbid, but I say it because a lot of purposes, a lot of people's life purpose actually comes from tough stuff. It doesn't always come from fairy floss. As Kim would say, it's not always about picking fruit. It's actually about planting the tree. And when it comes to purpose, it is often, as I know Scotty Pape talks about it in Barefoot Investor as well, and people talk about it all the time, is, planting the tree that you will never get to sit under. This is what a lot of work is. This is what a lot of parenting is. This is what a lot of great businesses are. This is what a lot of great social initiatives are. It's not about what you get to experience now. It's about what the world and humanity get to experience down the track. It doesn't have to be some humongous business. It can literally be planting a tree in your backyard or community garden. We don't have to have $1 million businesses. We don't have to be Insta famous. We don't have to search for fame or wealth. I don't think either of them are necessarily, they're not everyone's life purpose. And that has to be just put out there, as obvious as that is. It's so important to recognize. But I want you to really consider how powerful challenges in your life. A couple of other examples, people often say in the wellness world, I wish I was doing what Cyndi O'Meara was doing. Do you recognize that Cyndi lost so many aunties and uncles to hemophilia as a result of mass chemical warfare on the fields of Iowa, back in the day? They died from chemical poisoning. She has an Erin Brockovich story. It burns inside of her. We talk about Cyndi having a bee in her bonnet. She does, but it comes from the brutal nature of life and death. Wim Hof, who holds the record for essentially being able to hold his breath for longer than any other human being on the planet, he's essentially climbed Everest in his jocks. His wife committed suicide. His wife jumped off a building, left 4 kids behind, and Wim Hof did not know how to deal with the grief. And the only thing that he could manage the grief with was hopping in cold, freezing cold water. As Wim Hof says, my children supported me through my grief, but nature healed me. And that's been the seed of his life's purpose. The seed was built out of pain and trauma. It's not all glossy, the Wim Hof method. It comes from working through immense pain. And so we can't just have a lick of the ice cream and think that that's how life should always be. Life is not that simple. And again, I'm probably not telling you anything you don't know, but what I am saying is that all of our life purposes, our life purposes, whatever that is not from just good stuff. A lot of the time, it's from stuff that we would label as bad stuff, but it is actually not that way. Yes, summer hemophilia is an inability for blood to properly clot. You'll have to go and listen to interviews with Cyndi. I'm not going to talk about it all here on this Facebook Live, but listen to Cyndi's story. Just Google it. Just Google Cyndi O'Meara and hemophilia, or it'll come up. It's not a private story. She's told it many times. Have a listen to the Wealth Faculty podcast interview with Cyndi O'Meara with Jason Witten. The Wealth Faculty, it's called. It was just released last Monday, or was it this Monday? Anyway, and she talks about it in maybe the first 10, 15 minutes of the interview. Have a listen to the story. As I said, it's an Erin Brockovich story. But the reason why I say it is because we must be very cognizant of what it is that drives us. You don't want to be pushed. You want to be compelled to something that is magnetizing, something that you can't stop thinking about, something that you love. Well, actually, in saying that, that's me and my magnificent obsession. You may have a calling that you just cannot suppress, or some other, you might be a 3rd-generation dentist or a 3rd-generation gardener, and you feel compelled to carry on the family name. All right, guys, many thanks again for your support. For those of you that are yet to Pre-order the book. Again, I don't say this for marketing. I say it because it's one of the most frequently asked questions. Yes, I don't put it on the pre-order page. I will sign every single one if that's important to you. I will do it. Look, I do like it. But I don't. I just have a real thing about wanky marketing. So I don't want to say that all copies come with a sign. I don't want that to be the reason why you get it. I want it to be because you want to read the book. So I will sign every copy. I even just blush even saying it. But more importantly, if it means this is the stuff that means stuff to me, I pay more to print higher quality books. When you get a book, this is going to be shiny. The paper is better than this one. The cover is better. When you buy it, it'll be available on Amazon, all the big mobs. I don't get to control as much the quality of the book. And this goes for all authors. It's not just me. So I want you to be able to get the best quality book. So when you buy the book through me, I can give you the best quality book. And I'll also cover the delivery for pre-orders only. It does chew up the profit quite a bit, but I think for the beginning and as the thank you for investing in me, I want to do that for you as well. But I actually can't even do that with Amazon and all those other things. So as I said, folks, the books are expected to land in my driveway on May 14. But I would say expect to have them in your hands, let's say a week later. Australia Post and all the rest of it. All right, guys. Love and hugs to you all. Have a wonderful Thursday. This is Tremendous Thursday. Continue to make the rest of your life the best of your life, and I'll see you on another edition of Your Exceptional Day sometime soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.